Welcome to this week's episode of Humans in 5.
We mentioned a few weeks ago that many students in North America and Europe have headed back to school. Now that everyone's had some time to settle in, some people are starting to worry about whether or not they're going to do well on their assessments or exams, which might be right around the corner.
A lot of students at all ages spend a somewhat unhealthy amount of time worrying about tests and assignments. There's some debate over the best way to examine students' knowledge. While the debate continues to rage on, tests and exams often represent a large portion of school assessments.
We've mentioned before that education is filled with all sorts of learners. Some people learn best with many visual aids, while direct text works, or reading direct text, works better for others. Aside from students experimenting with all kinds of study techniques, many researchers are also interested in the tips and tricks that might help us learn and consolidate different types of information.
So far, the research supports two study methods in particular. A team based at the University of Waterloo found that the way students revise or review information can have a big impact on how well they remember that info. In particular, they found that reading information out loud to yourself can help you remember details better.
When you recite or verbally produce information and listen to yourself speak out loud, your brain is better able to store and remember those details. Something about generating the words you need to know out loud really helps you retain those facts long term. It's one thing to read and review things quietly, but another to have to synthesize everything into a coherent and reasonable sentence. Researchers have nicknamed this the production effect.
Another study tip that has some backing has to do with how we take notes. There's some research from Princeton and the University of California, Los Angeles, to suggest that manually writing down important facts and details changes how our brains process that information for the better. We seem to remember things a little more clearly when we put pen to paper.
For those of us old enough to remember life and studying before computers, copying out notes was once a pretty standard study technique. As students now spend more time taking notes or studying on their computers, this old school trick may be falling by the wayside. However, while students might be able to take faster, more thorough notes with a laptop, the mindless transcription of information may be too passive for our brains to benefit. When we take our time to write something down, it may not be a perfect copy, but we're more likely to get and remember the gist of what was said.
Ultimately, as we said at the start, the real trick is finding out what works best for you. But if you find yourself stuck in a study rut, it might be worth trying to talk or write it out.
Thanks for watching us produce these facts, and we'll see you next time on Humans in 5.
And don't forget to subscribe!